Evening and welcome to Sechelt E-Town Hall on the 2016 budget discussions. I would think from now on virtually every public meeting we're going to have will be an e-town or electronic or an internet town hall of some sort, and that's a really good way of moving into the future. So I'm glad to welcome the people who have joined us here tonight in the community use room, and also to welcome those who are joining us online, or those who will view this event in future days or evenings after it's actually posted. For those who are interested in joining the online discussions or sending comments or questions during the evening, please visit sechelt.ca and click on the budget icon on the top right-hand corner to view details on how to connect, and you should be able to connect directly from the website over to this event. You will note we have a majority of council here with us this evening to listen to the staff presentations and to listen to the community comments and questions as they come through, the community input, on how we're going to develop our 2016 District of Sechelt budget. We will begin with fairly brief presentations and then welcome questions from the public on specific points that come up during the evening. To those of us in the live audience, we'll ask you to use the gallery mic, this one that's in front of me, to ask your questions so that questions as well as the responses can be heard on our YouTube presentation. For tonight, though, you'll be using the microphone. You don't have to worry about being live on YouTube in terms of your visuals and face, because we only have one camera, so they'll only be picking up your voice rather than your presentations. I think we're planning by the 1st of January to have all of our council meetings and committee meetings live over the internet, which will mean that we'll start to make sure our hair is combed and we're dressed appropriately for committee meetings. Not that we're not at the moment, but that'll be one of the changes in December. Certainly when they brought live television to question period in the Legislative Assembly and in Parliament, it changed both for the good and for the poor certain behaviors that took place. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide an opportunity for public input into our 2016 budget. The outcome council is looking for your tonight, for your involvement, is that we can develop a 2016 budget that actually creates value for our community and reflects the values that you have uppermost in your mind. We have a lot of ground to cover tonight, so without further delay, I will turn the microphone over to our Chief Financial Officer, Linda Clausen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Milne. Our agenda tonight consists of a few points, and important to note is that we're really looking for your public input. So we're looking for your comments and suggestions in each of the areas that we're presenting today, in our initiatives and our priorities, as well as our capital plan, and anything else that you might have some concerns about, or if you have questions, please raise them and we'll do our best to answer them. Where we are in the budget process today is we're on that green line where it says E-Town Hall budget discussion. We've had one workshop with the council on December the 1st, and just to review some material, what we're thinking. And today we're going to be talking about the budget with the capital budget with the public. After that, we're going to consider your comments and suggestions, review them, and with council make some decisions of what the priorities are for the 2016 year as well as the 2017 to 2020 financial plan. We are targeting the FCED meeting for the Finance, Culture, Economic Development Committee meeting for February to present the budget, and 3 readings after that, sometime in February or March. We hope to adopt the financial plan bylaw by April 2016 and the property tax bylaw by April 2016. So there will be a few presenters today. It will be myself, as well as Bill Beamish, our Chief Administrative Officer, and he will be presenting next. He'll be looking at our 2015 accomplishments.
Thank you, Linda. If you'd pass me that clicker, I'll be able to click myself forward here. 2015, completed community projects. It's like any good plan that comes along that we start off at the beginning of the year is always going to be interrupted and changed. AGLG report came along and caused us to do a lot of extra work, and then the organizational review came along. And that not only caused us to do a lot of extra work, it caused us to do a lot of reorganization and scrambling, and which we're still continuing to do. So that what I want to cover tonight are some of the capital projects that were completed. The Water Resource Center, you're well familiar with. We completed roads. This is Dolphin Avenue, widening and streetlights. We completed the community summer music series, and we experimented this year with moving it downtown, to the downtown core for a period, not just here. And we also, at the same time, and those of you who are here, we also used it as an opportunity to do it for our annual general meeting at the summer music series. You don't often get a lot of people out to some of our meetings. Tonight, game, cookies, and coffee are the big attraction on a cool night, sort of thing. So that's nice. So that appreciate everybody coming, but sometimes you have to be innovative, and Connie certainly did that with the annual general meeting this year. We've also done the town hall events this year that we held actually 5 of them. This is the 5th one this year. We did the medical marijuana event, and then there was one to look at public engagement itself, and then the water conservation plans, and then finally we're doing this one as a budget process. So they all had lots of activity, lots of people, and they were all very interested. Each one is very different. Starting to do them live now, and getting comments from the public at that time too. So we completed the Water Resource Center, as I mentioned, the Ocean Avenue, Toreto to Boulevard, Dolphin Avenue widening, Driftwood Road sewer extension, McCullough Road drainage, Rimrock Road to Gale Avenue North Connector Trail, summer music series. We continue to maintain the downtown Wi-Fi network, and that's something that's generally available to anybody in the downtown area. Using a Wi-Fi network, and as I say, hosted the town hall event. So we've had an active year. In addition to the internal process we've been involved in and the activities internally, we've also been able to accomplish many things for the community. Also community hall improvements. How many of you have been upstairs recently to see the improvements? It's certainly very different and not quite finished yet. There's some signage to go in there. But this was designed by our staff with the assistance of an architect, and it's really made a difference in the welcoming of people into the town hall. And then we did the online registration is another program we're doing. We're doing more use of the online dog license, online registrations, online tax payment. Lots more activities to not have to come down for coffee and cookies, but to stay at home and actually do all your registrations from home. So we thank everybody. That's Bev and her staff have been working very hard at that. So I think I turn this over to Mike now. These are some more. Oh, I go down the list, not across. So it happens when you get here late and don't practice. We also had some other completed purchases in terms of the internal operations of the town. Vehicle purchases, we did the folding boom truck. I think there's supposed to be a picture of that. We did the RCMP facilities. RCMP is a building that we actually own, and so they did some improvements over there. Audiovisual system. The 2015-18 strategic plan, worked with council with that, implemented the My Seashalt for the citizen self-service, and as I say, we initiated the projects in the downtown core, working with different activities there. Some of the projects are still in process. The Norwest Bay Road sidewalk hasn't been completed yet. The Davis Bay Beach study is still ongoing. Chapman Creek Crossing, the highway crossing at Chapman Creek. Discussions are ongoing with the Ministry of Transportation. There was a meeting held on site this last week. Public consultation ongoing. Chapman Creek erosion study, looking at the banks of Chapman Creek. That study is in progress now with the consultant. the organizational review, as I mentioned, and the managing the shores and Sea-Watch sinkhole situation, which is been very serious and very high priority issue for Council this year. And we have the 2016 draft initiatives and priorities. And that goes back to Linda.
Thank you, Bill. This next section is about our departmental plans and about... Hello? There we go. This next section is about our departmental plans and how it fits in with our strategic plans. The first strategic plan that we're working on is effective governance, to have council and staff operate with best practices and quality services. So we're going to continue with evaluating our policies and procedures, and there's a few policies there that we hope to bring to council for consideration. We would like to develop an information technology strategic plan, and we would like to review the council procedures bylaw. Also in the same section of effective governance, we would like to prepare and deliver the 2016 budget and 2017 to 2020 financial plan. That's what we're doing here today. The third point down is to administer the post-project completion review of the Water Resource Center. The AGLG audit suggested that we should review the Water Resource Center project, and that is in the works right now. We're going to also engage in collective bargaining with the BC Government Employees Union. As well, in effective governance, we're going to manage the implementation of organizational review. There's some change management that needs to be considered, as well as hiring some of the, filling the vacant positions that we have. We'd also like to continue to build on relationships developed in 2015 with the Sechelt Nation and other communities. In economic development, we would like to develop initiatives that will support and retain and attract new businesses in the community. Some examples of this is Innovation Island, the Intercommunity Business Licenses, and the Regional Economic Development Group. As well, in community development, we'd also like to update the vision and sustainability plan, complete the DCC policy review and bylaw, and develop and communicate a water conservation plan and reclaim water strategy. Community development also includes updating our parks master plan and formalizing our asset management process. The asset management process is a series of skills and expertise that staff use to document the physical assets that we have currently, and then we will use that information to make informed decisions about what is the best practices and what are the best priorities for the coming future of our assets. Social well-being is our initiative number 4. We would like to update the Arts and Cultural Strategic Plan, as well as review the community investment policy to ensure the program is operating effectively. Building Sechelt's identity. We would like to have a feasibility study for a community gathering place, a feasibility plan for a community gathering place downtown as part of the downtown revitalization strategy. As well, Sechelt would like, the district of Sechelt's 30th anniversary is this year, and we would like to celebrate that anniversary. Engaging the community is our strategic plan number 6. We would like to integrate live streaming of meetings with e-agenda and minutes. Continue to implement citizen self-service for property tax payments, dog licenses, and business licenses. As well, we would like to update our website so that it is more mobile friendly. And we will continue to hold community engagement meetings on key issues that we come across. At this point, we have a break in our session for comments and suggestions. Yes.
Do I have to read? I can't read and walk up there and talk, so I'm just going to say what I have to say. Maybe the next time we do this, we can have a map, that thing up in behind you, so we can remember that's too small and that's just too crooked, and this we can't read because it's so tiny. So I'm sorry, but just a suggestion for next time we do this.
Okay, and for people, just to repeat that for people who didn't hear, it was a suggestion that we have the graphics and the video in an easier place to watch and read. I don't know if we could actually move the screen, but we can do something about.
And that's too small for the
We could rearrange the room a little bit. Possibly, but yeah, it's a small group tonight.
Is there a question?
Any other comments or suggestions about the issues that have brought us up to here, which is really the comments? And I see Connie has something online.
I'll also read the question so that council can hear it. For years, our association has been complaining about the derelict boat situation that has been developing in Sechelt Harbor. We understand preliminary work has been done by Sechelt's bylaw department on how to deal with this problem, but no budget has been allocated. They would like this situation addressed.
On that issue, we are dealing with the province and the federal government. There's the jurisdictional issues of navigation and private boats on water. Some communities have taken a very aggressive process with this. It's been an expensive process, but the province and the federal government have both indicated they are going to give help in that space. So we're hoping that in 2016 we can take that initiative with some of the derelict boats that are floating on the water harbor, and also beach boats. Ones that come up on the shore are also a problem. So that's a problem up and down the coast of British Columbia. I forget, I did hear at one point in time is the numbers of boats that are actually abandoned or derelict boats, and it's actually very significant, and certainly not just this community.
We have another comment or question, please.
Yes, I don't know where this fits in the overall picture, but
on now?
Yeah.
What about the zoning bylaw, updating the zoning bylaw to conform with the OCP? And the other question is, where is our affordable housing policy in its development and adoption process?
I can speak to the zoning bylaw. It's currently under review. We are hoping to have it complete this year, at least to go back to council for reconsideration of first reading. I don't know about the housing policy. With affordable housing, we are working on a regional basis with the regional district and Gibson's. It's a strategy with actions. Okay.
Yeah, we'll take your concern about the District of Sechelt's social policy into mind, and it's primarily something we can do when we're dealing with new developments and things of that nature. You'll notice it isn't on our list of particular for social or community development, those initiatives, and it wasn't identified as part of the policy review. In terms of the policy review, we really want to get the core foundational policies under review, fiscal, governance issues and that kind of policy, council procedures bylaw, and then use that as a foundation in future years to make sure we can review all of the other policies. So I note what you noted was that housing policy wasn't identified, and we'll see as a budget process whether we can allocate some direct resources to that. think it's probably time to move on to 2016.
Almost there. So a few weeks ago, I sent out an email to several community associations, and a few of them responded and a few were still waiting for. A summary of these responses will be coming next on the slides, and Mike Vance, our Interim Director of Development, will be sharing those responses.
So these are comments by the community. Firstly, in the Davis Bay Selma Park area, requesting for a Highway 101 pedestrian crossing at Chapman Creek. Alternatively, there's a proposed walkway under the bridge, which does come with some concerns from Ministry of Transportation and Highways. A sidewalk on the non-ocean side from Pier 17 to Bay Road. Another request to reduce the speed limit at Davis Bay. It's currently posted at 50 kilometers per hour. Selma Park Road widening paving on the north side, 2018, and investigate Selma Park Road drainage groundwater issues. For the Tilikum Bay community, paved Seashelt Inlet Road from 7163 Seashelt Inlet Road to Grey Creek Bridge, 2016 paving, and investigate Tilikum Bay Road drainage issues. For Sandy Hook community, gravel road paving at Skana Crescent, Prawn Way, repair of a public access to the beach. There's a broken railing and stairs. Investigate a new sign at the entrance of Sandy Hook, and pothole repair by mailboxes near Deerhorn Road. For West Seashell, investigate sidewalk improvements and lights on Jasper between Miller and Norwest Bay Road. Investigate terracing, paths, or other incline decreasing improvements to Burtnick Park to facilitate those with disabilities. Investigate a sidewalk on east side of Norwest Bay Road. Investigate improvements to Mason Road near West Seashelt Elementary, including sidewalks filling in the deep ditch. Signage at the beach side of beach accesses so people can find their way back to the road, and signage indicating degree of difficulty on beach accesses and trails. Investigate putting the Norwest Bay Road landscaping project back in the budget. For 2017, extension of sewer hookups in Wakefield area, etc. Investigate lower ditch culverts beside the upper part. Whoop, am I behind here? Yeah, sorry. There we go. Construct sidewalk on Bailey to link Derby and to improve Derby between Bailey and Norwest Bay Road.
Now we're on the 2016 draft capital plan. So the draft capital plan consists of vehicles and equipment, parks, facilities, community enhancements, information technology, roads and drainage, sidewalks and walkways, and sewer treatment. Normally, in a financial plan, we plan 5 years, 2016 and 2017 to 2020. Today, we're focusing on 2016. We have some plans for the 2017 to 2020 years, but today I'd like to focus on the 2016. At this point, our capital spend for 2016 draft budget is $8.3 million. Of that, roads and drainage is about 38%, facilities is 20%, and sewer treatment is another 20%. Vehicles and equipment is about 4%, and sewer collection is 7%. The funding for these capital expenditures come in many different categories. Almost 67% of our capital expenditures are funded through DCCs, gas tax, grants, and other grants. So that includes your, can you see that? The DCCs, it's this 30% here. Your grants and contributions is 28%. And your gas tax right here is 9%. Short-term borrowing from MFA is at a very reasonable percent, and that is for our vehicles. 30% of the funding is from reserves or surpluses. This is our Cat backhoe. It's a 420E. It is one of our most expensive replacement items this year in the vehicle and equipment category. It is used almost every day for road repair, ditching, culvert installations, loading salt, debris removal, snow removal, and road sweeping. This unit is in need of tires and major repairs that will only be good for a short term. So at this point, there's still some trade-in value, and it is due to be replaced. The total 2016 draft capital plan for vehicles and equipment is about $335,000. In the following years, 2017 to 2020, we're estimating about $300,000 for each of those years. In our parks category, we have one major item, which is the Ebb-Tide Park, which is a multi-phase project. And the Ebb-Tide Master Plan was developed by the Ebb-Tide Park Advisory Committee. This year, we're proposing that we complete phase 1 of that park. That will include this area in here on the sport court. The sport court will include pickleball courts, basketball nets, and possibly road hockey. This is a project that's 50-50 funded and is available from the Canada 150 Community Infrastructure Program. Future phases of this park will be scheduled between 2018 and 2020. Other parks capital initiatives include Boulevard Irrigation, Off-Leash Dog Park, Irrigation Controller Upgrade, and Kinnickinnick lighting for the baseball fields. The total for 2016 we're estimating to be about $200,000. The 2017 to 2020 amount of $700,000 is related to the Ebb-Tide Park. Facilities. Our largest facility capital expenditure in 2016 will be the Public Works and Parks facility. We're currently estimating total cost to be about $1.6 million over 2 years, and this will be partially funded through the Water Resource Center and the capital reserves. Another small portion of facility upgrade is for the RCMP. We did phase 1 in 2015, and phase 2 will occur in 2016, and that is related to their front desk is not up to standards for the RCMP standards. Reception area.
And you're going to spend $1 million for that?
No, no, no. The RCMP facility upgrade is about $100,000. Community enhancements. One of our community enhancements this year will be the Coracle Beach access. Perry wanted to ensure that this was not his set of stairs, but these stairs do need to be replaced to make sure that we have a safe access for the Coracle Beach access. And it's in the Sandy Hook area for those people that don't know where that is. Other community enhancements include our Davis Bay float and our Trail Bay float. Our Trail Bay float was ruined in a storm. The anchors were ruined in the storm, and the Davis Bay float wasn't safe where it was, so we have to figure out a solution for that. And also, we would like to continue landscaping on the Civic Center here by the RCMP. And the airport clearway, there's a small amount in this budget right now for clearing, for the airport clearway for compact gravel and to extend the runway a little ways. IT. We have lots of activity going on in information technology. Our most significant project here is our ERP project, the Enterprise Resource Planning System. This is our third year in implementing this system. It consists of a financial system, integrating with asset management, document management, and a geographical information system. We're all at different stages in this project. Other items that we are considering in this IT budget is to ensure that we have continuity if a disaster should strike, ensure that we have computer equipment for all our staff, having a responsive website design and also having a computer hardware replacement program. We don't have a computer hardware replacement program, and what we would like to do is cycle out our computer hardware every 5 years. And an infrastructure maintenance program to ensure that our servers are stable and they continue to operate.
So we're on to
Just pass this down there. Just pass this on there. You clip it on, it's okay.
all right, roads and drainage. So Trail Avenue, Toreto to Surf Circle design first, and then construction of both the roadworks and stormwater trunk line, Trail Avenue, Toreto to Surf Circle. There's a Toreto to Ocean Avenue drainage improvements design, and Marine Way retaining wall and Fairway Avenue retaining wall, which have to be reconstructed for, due to a road collapse. Seashell Inlet Road paving, Delta Road to North Lane, gravel roads paving, that's create a priority list in 2016 pavement management program. It's a 5-year repaving program. And Bike Lane, Reef Road, and Shoal Way will be a partnership with District of Seashell and MOTI. This one we've already spoken to. This is the Highway 101 crossing at Chapman Creek Bridge. The sewer service connection. And here's the recycled water system, which is followed the path that you saw on the previous slide to Blue Ocean, to Dusty Road, and downtown Seashell. Comments, suggestions?
Good. What you'll find is we've combined a number of things here. You saw a list of things that community associations suggested for draft, and you've got a range of things that staff have suggested. Everything you saw tonight is a draft proposal for the budget. They're not necessarily fixed yet. There are best suggestions of where we have to look. Obviously, staff have a sense of what's going on the ground and what they've been working on and what needs to be carried forward. And the community associations and people in the community have some experience from being on the ground in their communities and what's been lacking and what's been overlooked. So there's been a combination in what you saw in the last while. First, Linda explained where the money was coming from and what our big categories are, but then we went through recommendations and draft suggestions. And as we heard earlier, we may have missed some things, such as the housing policy. And if there's other things that people want us to either comment on in here that were our priorities or suggestions for us to not overlook something, that's what this next portion is, either online if you're online and watching, or if you're here in the public.
When I read in the community update that came out last week, I was quite heartened to see in black and white, under the third bullet down, that it said improvements such as lawn bowling or whatever. And I didn't see anything at all so far that said lawn bowling under parks or under, so I'm just wondering where that should be or is.
Mm-hmm. Now, to the best of my knowledge, it's not in parks yet because we don't have a site. I can tell you that there are ongoing discussions and with a couple of other, on a couple of potential sites. One of those being with another public body, the school board. So we can, and once we have affirmed that we have a site, then we'll be able to move forward in terms of actually allocating budget funds for whatever our contribution would be. And again, the lawn bowling is a good example of something that may be a District of Sechelt initiative or shared with the regional district or shared with the community in some way. So at the moment, nothing in our draft budget for lawn bowling, though that may change as we go forward. And councillors are here to listen to this. And one of the things that they do when we come to our next budget discussion is say, no, I want to put some money away for this, this, or this. And it may not be the whole amount, or it may be a partial, it may be seed money. And that's why the council's here to listen to these suggestions as well. So quite correct, there's nothing in there now. I would say it's because we don't have a site fixed, but it's also could be just something that we have to adjust and look for. And Pam?
I would like to know, when it says for paving, 7163 to Great Creek Bridge, is that on this side of Great Creek Bridge or is that on our side, of Tewanek side of Great Creek Bridge? I have one more after that.
Yeah, and Sanath will look that up on the map and let us know which, north or south.
Well, this is
Yeah.
Sechelt side or Great or Tewanek side?
On this side.
Oh, what
Sechelt side.
about, okay, what
There's a
about the
road
other
failure.
side?
There's a big road failure over there.
There's what?
Road failure. There's
Well,
road failure.
yeah, but there's roads failures in Tewanek too. And it was just fixed up there not too long ago on this side of Great Creek Bridge.
Yeah, we prioritized because of the safety, current safety, and we thought this is the one project. And there's another project.
There's an impending sinkhole on just about 30 feet from this side of Great Creek Bridge. So I'm wondering if that's going to be.
On the Sechelt side of the bridge, yes, that's what he's saying. That's where the impending safety is. So that's why they're, at the moment, prioritizing that.
That's a small patch there, right?
Few things, one is patch, one is a big long crack, and road is shallow, so that.
Okay. And Davis Bay float. Do you know there's a reason why we never had a float at the Davis Bay wharf? Because of the way the waves come in and the water action. They tried it once and it wrecked. Even boats would come in and park there, dock there, but they didn't stay. They didn't stay overnight. They didn't,
There's some dispute over the history of the float there.
I grew up
I know you did, and others, such as Marg, who's lived most of her life there, have said we had a float there for decades, many decades.
Did not,
So,
and there was a reason for it.
well, we'll have to look at that and see if we can find a way to make it happen or not. And if it's impossible, then it'll be impossible. But we've been informed by longstanding residents of the area that there was a float, a small float, and I hear from you that there never was one. So we'll look for pictures maybe
I don't
or
know
something.
where it was, because the beachcombers came in and tied up in behind the float.
Yep.
But they didn't stay, right? And I'm 68 years old. I swam there since I was 6 years old. There was never a float there,
Okay.
and there was a reason for it.
And Bill was going to say,
As much as we need to have it, sometimes you just don't get to see, do, and experience every single thing, just cause.
and just before I go back to Bill, because he was going to say something about lawn bowling, I think. Is there any online comments or community? Please, you can send your things in, but Bill will comment first, then we'll go to the online.
Yeah, it was. Just as that conversation, I actually have a meeting on Thursday with another government body to talk about potential location, and we're looking at another private location in the town. So we are actively working on that.
And we have an online comment.
Yes, we have a comment that's come in. The question is, when will we see the draft 2016 operating budget? And does the culvert assessment plan include Upper Norwest Bay Road?
The first answer to that question, I expect that we will see the operating budget coming through late in January or February. And the second part of that question regarding the culvert, I'm going to have to pass it on to Sanath.
Sanath or Mike?
Sanath or Mike.
Yeah, I believe that is the larger culverts, is it not, Snath, and the bridge and culvert assessment that we're talking about. We have not assessed our bridges or our large culverts, large diameter culverts, and so we're planning on doing that in 2016.
There's two things. One is that we are going to do a pitch assessment and a large culvert.
Do you want to come to the microphone? And we can also read. That's great. It's on. It's just on.
So we are doing two plans. One is that the bridge assessment and the large culvert.
Okay.
Another one is that the culvert crossing driveways. So I think this is the case is culvert crossing driveways on Norwest Bay Road.
And does it include Upper Norwest Bay Road or just the lower part of Norwest Bay Road?
I think it is Upper Norwest Bay Road. Okay. That is depending on the priority. We are doing the re-ditching and regrading the culvert, the drainage. So that is depending on the priority.
Good. Thank you very much. And the advantage of sending your queries in online is that we can also reply online when we have it clarified and give you exactly the answer you want. But we understand from that question, which came from West Sechelt, that the culvert assessment will include Upper Norwest Bay Road, and that will be for how culverts and driveways intersect. And there's also a larger study on bridge assessment and culverts for bridges. Mr. Evermont. Yeah, it should just be on.
Hello. Okay. I was wondering if we couldn't save. I grew up in a farming community, and I know that the steel buildings can be put up, farming buildings, put up very inexpensively. And I don't know why we couldn't just save a lot of money by putting up steel buildings like that. And there's all different kinds and styles and strips, and they look pretty good actually. Some are insulated, some are not insulated. Some have doors on the side or front or whatever, and they can be made to look pretty well. They can be put up really quite fast. You put down a concrete slab, and then they all go up automatically. And like I say, I lived in a farming community, and I've seen them around here too. And I think we could save a lot of money just with a couple of those large buildings, you know.
Okay, we don't have it. We don't have our design build proposals out yet for the Public Works facility, but I think your idea of using steel construction for some parts of it, for perhaps the bays or for some of the storage areas for salt and sand, those areas, and I think that's also something that at least one councillor is keeping in mind to make sure we don't overbuild for what we need if it's simply dry space. There are parts of that building which will be closer to offices and workrooms and lunchrooms, and they probably wouldn't be steel constructed. But some of the some parts that are primarily storage may well be that.
I got stacks of all the, there must be about 60 designs, they're quite good,
Yeah.
actually. In Davis Bay, I was wondering, instead of doing some Band-Aid kind of things with Davis Bay, with the park, the seaside park there, why couldn't we have a planner come in, some kind of an architect planner, a landscape planner come in and look at the whole thing, look at the whole idea of, because I think it's one of our biggest assets is the Davis Bay Park there. And I was on the committee that stopped the turning when Darren was mayor. And we stopped that just to save that park, what little land there was there. But I think the main thing we would need for the Davis Bay Park area is some kind of a landscape person to look at the whole area and see if we could actually make it large enough so that it would be like a running track or a roller skating area, rollerblading area, and a walking area beside a walking area. If that could be, if that's possible, because there's no place for younger people to ride their bicycles in Seashell and not get hit with a car. And the only place I can go rollerblading, I'm the oldest rollerblader in Sunshine Coast. But the only place I can really go rollerblading right now is in Gibson's behind the high school, because there's a flat track there, and it's used by runners in Gibson's, and it's used by people flying airplanes, model airplanes and whatever, and it's used by the community a lot, by the young people. And I don't see why we can't have something like that. If we're going to plan some kind of park, put a running track in it or something that can be used by people that want to use their bicycles. People that, like kids that get rollerblades for Christmas, next Christmas you see them at the Sally Ann, because they can't use them in Seashell. You never see anybody in Seashell with rollerblades. We have to find more things for the young people in Seashell to do at night or whatever, during the day, besides going off in the woods with, that's nice, but there's other things we should be able to do in here. Now, one of the first things I thought about with Davis Bay, again, is that we have no sidewalks. We have no sidewalks in Davis Bay. And people come in as tourists and come into Davis Bay, and they don't realize that those are our sidewalks. The roads are our sidewalks. So I'm thinking that very easily you could do a stencil of some kind and say, caution, these are sidewalks, Davis Bay sidewalks, or something that we put on the ground, or could be easily made up, so that the people that are tourists that come in looking for things to buy a house or whatever, which we see all the time in Davis Bay, they know that these are sidewalks, and that be careful with people that are walking, the kids that are walking, and some of the kids that are with bicycles and so forth.
So we could say, caution, these roads are pedestrian friendly?
Yeah.
Something of that nature? Okay.
But something that would warn tourists that these are also our sidewalks, because we don't have any sidewalks. The other thing which
And how are we doing for time on this? Not bad? Okay.
does anybody, I know Darren was involved with this way back. We had some experts come in and talk about how to stop the wave washing coming up on the shore, because it's cutting in closer all the time. The waves are getting bigger because we're losing a lot of sand on the initial part of the seawall. And there were some experts that came in. I don't know if you Alice, you must remember that too, and you remember that. I don't know if you remember that at the Seaside Center, they had these experts come in and show us ways that we could control how the water's coming in and how to control the waves so they're not so big and they're not cutting in all the time at our shore here. Yeah, for here and also at Davis Bay. Their solution was to put out some kind of a reef underwater, actually, by putting a lot of gravel at a certain point out quite a ways that would be just underwater enough so that it would create a natural beach. And also on the beach they had ways of putting in timbers and so forth so that grasses would grow to hold the sand. And it was a really good presentation, and all of a sudden I haven't heard anybody talk about this since that lecture, and I felt that it was a really good explanation to how we could resolve our problem with the water coming in off and going and flooding some of the areas over in Davis Bay, and also cutting in over here on our shore. They showed us what it would look like by looking at something 20 years back, and it could be exactly the same way if we would put a reef out there, some kind, which would be putting a gravel reef or some kind of a. But they seemed to know what they were talking about anyway. But this seemed to be forgotten.
So we have 5 or 6 items maybe we can get different people to address here.
Right.
I think part of the last one is actually part of the Davis Bay study that's in progress, but Mr. Vance?
Yes, we have retained SNC Lavalin to look at Davis Bay Beach study, and they're the same firm that conducted the study with Kerwood Lytle on Trail Bay. So that is their expertise, and we hopefully will have a draft before year end.
And we'll take on advisement your suggestion of having a single landscape architect look at the entire parkway and master plan. Now, I will say that the next update of the Davis Bay Park master plan will probably be when we consolidate all of those properties, which is not in the immediate future, but it is coming. And I know we have one councillor here who's been quite keen on making sure we get a master plan for Davis Bay updated, and that's Councillor Inkster to my left. And it's something that a lot of people want to see. But that's also why people are talking about the sidewalks in that area on the road. So somebody to look at both sides of the road and the linear way. Now, there are limitations, but there always are, and we'll have to look at what that looks like in the context of those constraints. And the you spoke to the need for higher recreation facilities in the coast too. I remember when the Elphinstone track went in, that was a coast-wide project, actually. Everybody on the coast contributed because we can usually only afford one state-of-the-art facility, and that was a very important running track. But you're speaking to the fact that we do need increased activities and recreational facilities here, which may or may not be built into the landscape in terms of sidewalks or running tracks or boardwalks. So we can consider those as well, especially if there was a master plan for that. And Mr. Beamish.
Just like to comment on the building as well, the Public Works building. We've had considerable conversation internally on that building. And the budget figure you see there is the same budget figure was there at the beginning of this year. And what we're looking at is just what you suggested. Somebody pointed out to me the other day that the actual pool next door is a steel building. And so that can be done, and it can look very attractive, and can be some very good options for a significant lower cost than a constructed building. So we are looking at that.
And we also have an online comment here coming from Sandy Hook. Would you like to? Thank you, Connie.
Begin by acknowledging that the Coracle Drive beach access is included in the budget proposal, but they're identifying an issue requiring more immediate attention, runoff drainage all along Sandy Hook Road, several areas where ditches fill to overflowing, and water pools on the road. Recent curbs placed at the corner of Sandy Hook Road and Shrimp Way create a new water pooling issue. And this group feels there needs to be a plan to upgrade and maintain proper drainage in the area.
Well, and that's a good comment for all of us to keep in mind, because I don't think there's a neighborhood in Sechelt that doesn't have drainage issues, whether you're in Upper West Sechelt along Norwest Bay Road, Sandy Hook, Tawanak, Selma Park, I know for sure. Davis Bay has enough gravel that we don't have too much, but the whole problem along Highway 101 in front of where the bus stops are and the pooling there is, again, drainage. So it's almost every area. Part of it is fairly old infrastructure, like the Sandy Hook subdivision was done at a time when standards were not what they are today. And it is one of the issues we're conscious of in terms of a systematic 5-year plan to introduce a long-term drainage and road work issue on this. So, and we do have another online comment with strong support for the rebuilding of the Coracle Drive beach access. I know that's been a long-standing issue, but that's small, and that's parks. We do see, and I hear very clearly, the demand for more on roads, which is already, 38% of our budget proposed? It may have to creep up to 40 and 42 just to deal with the road and drainage issues that we have. And Pam?
A lot of our water development is pretty natural. It's really hard Davis Bay is great, it does have sand, we never had a problem when growing up, but in Toronto, anywhere where you've got a hill, on the coast here, it's just, I mean, you should be in Toronto after one day of rain. It just runs down the road, the middle of the road like a river, and really, there's not a lot you can do about it. I mean, you can dig ditches all you want, but if it doesn't follow a ditch down, it just runs down the center and pours off the edges.
Yeah.
It's
I-
just one of those things you have to sort of deal with, it kind of channel it around your own yard. And, you know, like I said, you just can't have every single thing.
Yeah, I have a road that is the same thing. When on a heavy rain, there's a half an inch of water running down the road and going onto the driveways and yards on both sides. On the other hand, and it reminds us, I think what Pam's saying is that in a natural environment, there's only so much re-engineering you can do. And that would be part of what I would think about the beach and redoing Trail Bay and Davis Bay as well. We've got natural environments, and we have to balance the potential re-engineering and what we can do. And Connie, I noticed here there's another online comment. And also time, if you can
These
tell me
are
how.
actually 3 questions came in via email. Residents of Windward Lane, and they are looking to have funds allocated for the paving of Windward Lane. This is the half block west of Ocean Avenue that services a residential neighborhood.
Yes, and that also, we have reintroduced, and we need to discuss it, but we have reintroduced a budget item for gravel maintenance, and Windward Lane is one of those that is gravel. Scanna Crescent out in Sandy Hook is another one that's gravel. And we do have to think through why there's so many gravel roads and who should pay for upgrading those. So we'll have to think that one through, but there's several requests around Sechelt for dealing with gravel roads, and I know that's something I noticed on the draft budget that we should be looking at. I think, did the Windward Lane people have another comment too, or was it primarily the gravel road? I saw that come in this afternoon. And it's 8 o'clock. How are we doing, Pam?
I would just like to make a little comment about the sandbar at Davis Bay. And I think it's around June the 1st. It's the lowest daytime time of the year. It goes, I don't know, like if you go and stand on the wharf, it's almost bare, except on the other side of the wharf, it's black. There's a drop off there.
Yeah.
I don't know about putting up reefs because it just goes like that, right at the end of the sandbar. You know, the lowest time of the year, you can see it. We used to like play, go, how far can you go before you get scared?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to think of putting like a reef. You'd have to put it up so close to the road because, and it's not just a little drop off, it's a steep drop off.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind that actually circles the entire Trail Bay. There's a reason why.
I know that.
Yeah, and that's what, when some consultants come in and tell us we can try these things, that's why we have to do more direct studies as we're doing with Davis Bay to see what we can do.
Like sometimes for people that didn't go and get a whole bunch of letters behind their name, but sort of know about something, go down an hour before the lowest tide, right close to June the 1st, and walk out on the sandbar, and you can see, and it's all the way along. There's a strip of sand all the way along past the wharf, and on the other outside of the wharf, it's black.
Yeah.
It just goes like this.
And if you don't want to wait for the low tide, you can ask yourself why the Panamex freighters come in and load themselves up with gravel and have enough room to turn around 30 meters off the edge of the trail. There's a reason.
Serious drop off.
Serious in that whole
Yeah.
area. Okay, that's been quite useful so far. We've had quite a few comments and suggestions. The next steps, should I do this?
Sure.
Quite carefully, we'll take everything we heard tonight. Some were not on our list. Some, like drainage and gravel roads, were already on our list. Certainly the improvements to park areas, whether they be facilities such as lawn bowling in parks or roller skating or rollerblading, will have to be taken into account, and we'll try and see how we can build those into the future. And then we'll have to prepare for the following meetings. The next formal public meeting will be where the budget comes back. I thought would be the January Finance Committee, but also for sure we're leading towards having the draft budget completed the capital budget completed by February 10th, Finance Committee and Economic Development. Between now and then, there will be many hours of council workshops. I don't know how many hours, but I know that we're going to have to go through it carefully with staff so that we can all follow that. There will be 3 readings of the financial plan bylaw planned for February and March, and there will be an opportunity to comment again at that time. So February and March, and then the financial plan bylaw adoption, there'll be an opportunity to comment prior to that adoption in April.
I have
Yes.
just one little question I forgot to ask about. The reused water going out to the golf course. I thought that the golf course, I'm confused about the golf course. I don't know who it belongs to anymore. But I was under the impression early on, quite a while, when it first became talked about, that they were going to pay for that. And they would get it to there and then sprinkle it on the ALR land.
If the golf course wants to use reclaimed water, or if Lehigh wants to use reclaimed water for industrial washing, they will be contributing and participating fully in getting the water to their sites. There's not, again, it's one of those things that's been talked about, speculated about. Some people may dream about it. It hasn't been moved very far forward yet, but we do want to deal with, we see that as a resource. We're just not sure how to use it to take the pressure off of the SCRD water supply. We really don't want to be using filtered water for washing gravel or for sprinkling in inappropriate areas. So the filtered water, as we learned from the drought last year, is a really scarce commodity. Mr. Evermont.
Just a couple of comments. Can you comment a little bit about the Chapman Lake and what's being done for solving the problem of drought here in Sechelt?
Not as part of the District of Sechelt budget proposals, but for those that are interested, the SCRD is making sure that this spring they will have the deep channel put in and siphoned, so there won't be an emergency problem in terms of water access, but it'll still be available as a drawdown, which we would like to avoid. The next steps are looking for diverse water supplies, a diversity, whether there's groundwater in other parts of the coast. And that proposal just came to the SCRD last week, though there's some budget problems about whether we can do it for 2016 or should be done in 2017. And more important, the pressure to identify the site for and start planning for an engineered lake is ongoing. That's our most important solution to Chapman. You've all seen how much rain came down. We could have filled a lake up in the last weekend. And we know that, and we just simply have to push that forward rather than let it go slowly. And that is being done. There's people on the board and at the SCRD that are working on that. Different budget process, but same concerns. Any final questions from the community? Is it time to thank people and sign off from the online? Oh, we have another. Yes, this was the other one I thought from Windward Lane.
Looking through those 3 emails that came in, this is just a summary of another request that was included with regard to the request for paving on Windward Lane. The residents of Windward Lane also wanted to request that the 1 block on Boulevard between Trail and Ocean be removed as a traffic lane and a small walkway be constructed.
And we'll take that into consideration as well. Again, it's an idea that has been talked about. Perhaps its time has come. It'll still have to be open for emergency vehicles, but over the years we've been letting the boulevard actually deteriorate because we know we want to change it, and so it's become unsafe for walking just as a road. But it needs to have something so it's both safe for walking, safe for cars, and also fits in better with the idea of a lighter use than full access. But there's issues to resolve there in terms of vehicle access, which needs to be protected to some degree, and the landowners who actually front on Boulevard. They obviously have a very strong interest we have to take into account.
also via email, we did have an inquiry come in questioning the level of spending on the IT budget, and I wondered if our Chief Financial Officer would like to look at that and maybe provide some explanation there.
Yes, I noticed that in our capital project, for example, we have 2% of the capital is allocated to parks, but this year 4% is allocated to IT for information technology. So perhaps I could move this and it's not going to come off.
Thank you. In our IT budget, we have the ERP program, and we're planning on spending more in our ERP program than we have in previous years. And also, we're starting a computer replacement program. We haven't had a computer replacement program implemented in this organization. So our computers are getting quite old and they're failing. So we need to replace our computers every 5 years or so to keep up with technology. Another item is our, we have had a few new staff. Right now we have quite a high vacancy rate, and when our staff come online, we need to buy computers so they can work. It's a tool that they need. So we need to replace those computers. As well as infrastructure, we have some servers that have been not failing, but they're in need of replacing before they fail, so that we rely quite heavily on our IT equipment. And if they fail, we need to make sure, or we need to ensure that we have a disaster recovery plan as well. So there's a lot of larger purchases this year and next year, but it should taper down in the following years after that.
I think the other thing with IT is to recognize that as organizations, all organizations in the modern world rely on information technology in ways we simply didn't 15 or 20 years ago. And so every single transaction, an idea, every letter, every idea is actually filtered through that. We have to keep track of every financial transaction, every email, every comment, every decision that council makes. All of this flows through the infrastructure of the information technology, and we use that as the backbone for how the organization works. And there's a tremendous amount going on there that simply didn't exist at one time. So it does look like it's taking a certain amount of the capital budget. I'm sure that'll fluctuate over a 5 or 10 year period, but every organization I've worked in, including the SCRD, has had to spend a considerable amount to make sure their information systems are robust. And the ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, yes. And that actually speaks to the fact that it's the entire enterprise planning that goes through that infrastructure. It's quite a sophisticated system, and necessarily so. If we could go back to paper, some of us would, but we would never be able to handle, we couldn't handle the volume of emails that come in without the system that we have now. One more from our communications manager.
We also received 2 email questions regarding the status of the biochar project and its appearance in the 2016 budget. People are looking for, I guess, an indication as to whether council intends to proceed with the biochar project.
I think that was in the budget as a carry forward, if I recall. Council did deal with it once in 2015 and didn't think it would be going forward at that time. I suspect when we look at the budget more closely in 2016, council will make a firm decision on that. But it's only there as a carry forward. Everything that was in the 2015 budget that wasn't completed is automatically brought forward. So I would tell people again it's a good time to put in your comments if things have been carried forward that should be dropped. But if things were not carried forward, you'd wonder when we were going to finish those. So I wouldn't be too concerned about some of those carry forwards. Council has already made a decision on that once, and we'll find out why it's back. Our e-town hall has ended. Thank you very much for those who came in person, because you can see how awkward it is getting used to these equipment, and we couldn't do it without somebody in the room because it would become even more complicated. So thank you for that, and thank you for those who are online, if there's any still online. Thank you. now. We're just on our way out. We'll get used to those signals too. It's both a public meeting and a studio, and